sometimes God will come with a lightning bolt to say, my plans are better than yours. And that's exactly what happened to me. Ever since I can remember, I have loved airplanes. I can't remember the first time I saw one, but they have been my passion in life. And so when people ask me from very early, what do you want to be? Immediately I said, I want to be a pilot. So when I graduated from high school, my father found me a job, the best possible job, at the international airport working for an airline. It was heaven for me because I was around airplanes every day, all day, 8 hours a day. And the first thing I bought was a watch, a pilot's watch, thick with lots of needles and things, and buttons. And that was my pride because I wanted to be a pilot. And so then one day my father comes home with the great news that we were all moving to Mexico. What? Yes, I have been asked. My father was working for Campus Crusade for Christ as the national director for El Salvador. And he said, I have been invited to Mexico, so we're all moving to Mexico within 6 months. And I told my father, I'm not going to Mexico. I have the best job ever. By this time I was dating Luchi. I had the life that I always looked for. And I was not going to go to Mexico, but after several conversations, he finally convinced me that it's in the best interest of the family to be united and to be together. So I finally said, yeah, I agree with that. So I decided I was going to resign from my job in the airline and move with the family to Mexico. But I had only one condition. I told my father, I will go to Mexico, but I have my own plans. Don't think that I'm going there to join Campus Crusade staff, because that's not my thing. I love the Lord, I'm a Christian, I will help everything I can, but that's not what I want to do in my life. I want to do my own thing. I like airplanes, I will travel the world, and so don't talk to me about any ministry things. And my father said, that's fine, okay, come. So the very last week that I was in the airline, the owner of this School of Aviation calls me. He brings me into his office and tells me, so Mr. Leiva, you want to be a pilot? And I said, yeah, I want to be a pilot. And he says, well, let me make you this presentation, present you a deal and see if you're interested. What if you enroll in our aviation school, you become a pilot, all the levels, instrument, multi-engine, everything, and I can pretty much guarantee you a left seat on the airline, the national airline of El Salvador. And you don't pay me until you start getting a salary with the airline. What do you think? That was the question I have been waiting all my life. But I had already committed to go to Mexico with my parents. So I almost died inside that day. And so we moved to Mexico. They were so excited, so eager, because they were going to make their dream come true about serving God full time. And my dad says, so what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. And he says, why don't you start attending the training center and just maybe you'll learn something. And I said, Dad, remember, you're trying to trick me. The one condition I gave you was I will not be part of the training center because I have my own plans. Don't you remember? Okay, my dad said, okay, that's fine. I mean, I love the Lord too, and I don't have to go through this. I can do it my own way. So finally, the big service, they had a big service to start the training center. My father invited me to, okay, you want to come? There's good music, maybe you'll meet some nice people. And I said, I don't have anything to do. Okay, I'll come. I sat at the very last row, and there was electricity in the air. These people were in fire for Jesus. And I was in fire for my own things, And so I sat down, almost bored. And finally, the guy who was giving the main talk was ready to speak. It was a Mexican guy. And Mexicans were famous for giving long talks. And I said, oh man, this guy, Mexican guy, he's gonna be speaking for who knows how long. I am getting sleepy, I'm bored, I don't know. Well, the guy gets up and starts delivering a powerful message. I remember the title of the message. It was called, God, My Priority. He says, okay guys, I want us to do something very special this evening. I want us to show the Lord that He is really our priority. And I want to be the first one. And he takes out his watch. I remember it was a gold watch, very nice, looked nice. And he says, this watch, my wife gave it to me on our 10th anniversary. It's very precious to me, just like my wife is very precious. But tonight, I am giving it away because I am telling the Lord, Lord, you are more important to me than my wife, than my marriage, than this watch. And there was a little thing there, like a jar, and he put it there, make a big clunk noise. We were all stunned. Oh, you mean this is serious? And I said to myself, this guy's crazy. He's ridiculous. He's trying to con us. He's like a con artist, trying to, I don't know what he's after. We all love the Lord. We don't have to prove anything to the Lord. We love Him. And he says, I'm going to ask you to kneel down and we're going to pray. And you do with the Lord whatever you think you need to do in a very tangible way to show Him He is your number one priority. There's nothing more important to you than He. And so I said, oh man, okay. So I knelt down and then silence. And then I began to see people getting up. Ladies would take out their earrings and they would go, and I could hear clink. Other people would write something on a little piece of paper and fold it and drop it. And I said, these people are dumb. How can they be doing this? This is ridiculous. But, it was almost over, so I had nothing to lose. Wait a few minutes and this will be over. And then something strange began to happen with me. I still had my pilot's watch with me, and the watch began to burn my hand. And I said, no, Lord, no. This is not with me. Remember, I'm just visiting here. I'm not here. I don't want to be here. Talk to them. Don't talk to me. I already know what I want. I already know what I need. Don't. This is not for me. But the watch was burning me. It was burning me. I couldn't have it anymore. And I began to hear God's voice telling me, Layo, I want you. I want you. Come with me. And I began to fight with God. Can you imagine that? How ridiculous that sounds? Fight with God, because I wanted to do things my way. I wanted my life to be run under my own terms. But Lord said, I have a better plan for you. Come with me. And I had to decide right there whose plans are better, my own plans or His plans. And I tell you, it was not an easy decision. It was very hard. Just taking that watch off my wrist, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. In some ways, I was giving up on everything that I wanted to do. And I didn't want to give up. But the watch kept burning my wrist until I could no longer stand it. I just took it out before it. And I was the last person in that room to go and put my watch in that little jar. I give up. You win. That's how I joined crew. That's how the Lord called me. The next day I came to my father and said, where do I sign up? And I joined crew. I had no idea what I was doing. Well, there was one missing piece still in this story. My girlfriend. She was in El Salvador, waiting for me. The arrangement we had was we were going to travel the world in adventurous living. And so now I become a missionary, and she doesn't know. And I don't know if she wants to marry a missionary. Maybe she won't. So I was terrified because I knew she was the woman that God had prepared to be my wife. So very early, I get up one day and I wrote this letter. I think it was like 12 pages, trying to describe to Lucy what has happened to me and how my whole life is now completely different. My whole future will be different. I don't even know what the future looks like. I was ready to mail the letter. I called my guys who were living with me and I told them, guys, this letter is the most important letter I've written in my life. I need you to pray with me that this letter will be understood by my girlfriend, that somehow she will understand and she will still want to marry me. So the guys came and they prayed, we lay hands on the envelope, and then I went and put it in the mail. I knew that it would take about 2 weeks for the letter to reach her and another 2 weeks for her to reply to me. Well, I think it was about 10 days later, I get a letter from Lucy, and I told the guys, come, I need you to pray for this letter. And he says, no, that's not possible. It takes about a month for you to get a reply. And it's only been not even 2 weeks. But I don't know. I said, I think this letter might be it. Well, they came and they prayed for the letter anyway. So finally, when they went away, I opened the letter with trepidation. And this was a letter of Lucy writing to me how something exactly the same had happened to her. God had called her, and God had made her change her whole plans, and she decided to be a missionary. And she was writing me 15 pages explaining what had happened to her, and she didn't know if I wanted to marry a missionary. Can you imagine? Both letters cross in space. She in El Salvador, me in Mexico, without having absolutely no idea that this was going on. God recruited us in the same way, 3,000 kilometers apart. So there's no other way to explain it. God had a special design for me and for my wife. God wanted us to be missionaries. And so we have been missionaries for the last 41 years. And you know, last year I got a gift, a watch, a pilot's watch that is almost exactly as the same watch that I gave away, that I never saw again when I joined crew. So God brought everything back in a circle to the beginning. So I wear this watch with a lot of joy, because it reminds me every day why I joined this ministry, and that everything that I thought I had given up, God has given me 1,000 times over. And I'm not saying that everyone will be called to be a full-time missionary, but God calls everyone to be a full-time follower of Jesus, a disciple of Jesus. And no matter where you are, when God calls, don't play on deaf ears. Just follow Him. So I encourage anyone that He is the best boss ever. He will give you the best ride of your life, because He never calls us to have boring lives. He always calls you to live a life of adventure and to do great things for His kingdom. And so when He calls, there's only one possible answer: you follow.